so you're Jake Bronstein, who's made so much damn money on Kickstarter. But why? But I'm looking at that page, and it seems like you really started out pretty dumb, didn't you?
Sure. Well, I don't know. I don't know what that means. I'll accept it. Yeah.
You've been on. This is your second Kickstarter thing, right? With the
yes.
Hoodie. Right.
Yeah.
So you knew Kickstarter.
Yes.
Then you go on with the Hoodie and say you hope to raise $50,000, and you get over $500,000. I mean,
yeah. I think there are people who would argue whether or not that was really the agenda.
I see.
Yeah, I had a bigger plan. But yeah, 50,000 seemed like a good number. You know, I thought if we can sell $50,000 worth of sweatshirts, even though I would have to order 100,000 to make them the way that I want to make them,
right? We'll
find the money elsewhere.
I see. Okay, so your goal on 50,000 was just for this venue. You thought this would be a good goal for this venue to get your project down the line.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think, you know, part of the reason why it extended beyond that so quickly was because the idea behind it wasn't a sweatshirt. It was just kind of a thought that while everybody else is making things faster and cheaper and trying to find the cheapest way to do it, that we wanted to do it a little bit differently, and that we wanted to be the kind of company that would owe you something in a way that people don't seem to, you know, like these days, you buy something from a company and they want to show you the fine print that shows that, you know, they're not responsible.
Exactly. That's what I mean. I don't understand all this stuff. Would you do this to a member of your family? No, but to you, I'll do this.
So I think that idea really connected with me, actually.
Yeah. So it was the idea that you're going to be there forever, and you're going to fix that hoodie for 10 years, no matter what happens to it.
That's right. And then even when we started looking at what that would mean, it starts looking interesting. I mean, and I think people get that too. And in the comments when people are talking about it, they've seen what it would look like for us to stitch something up.
Oh, I know. That is a great... It's like I did the stitching.
Yeah, but it's in a different color. You know, it'll take on a life of its own. So we have people now going, will you stitch it up if I cut it up? Yeah, maybe. Sure. Why not?
You won't know. They'll take advantage of you no matter what, but you don't care.
Yeah.
You got $600,000 now, so who cares?
I mean, so you're not a businessman the way that I'm not a businessman, but the fact that we've raised $600,000 for Kickstarter, we've also sold $600,000 worth of product. Like, there's not really profit there.
I know, but that's even more important to me. Because otherwise, to raise $600,000, go out and find out how to get $600,000 of sales next. You already figured that out by raising the money.
But yeah.
Yeah, and that's the genius to me of it, is that you're using Kickstarter as a sale, because then not only to raise money to do it, but to find out if there's customers. Getting money to do something is one thing, but getting customers is completely something else. And so you're able to use Kickstarter not only to raise money, but to get the customers, and so now your customers are financing your idea.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, earlier you and I were talking about, just briefly while we were setting this thing up, about, like, the barriers that people put up in front of doing a thing.
Right.
And there's a lot, and there's always a lot. And I think the other thing that's really useful in the Kickstarter system, and it's not meant to be, but it just is that you've made a promise. And the minute you've made a promise, there's a real incentive to find solutions, to stop seeing all the reasons why you can't do a thing, and go like, well...
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. So you're committed to more people than just yourself and your wife at home, that you're going to do this, honey, you know, no matter what. Well, hey, it looks a little harder, but now you have 6,000 people out there going to be really pissed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a legitimate motivator. When we put the underwear on Kickstarter, we sold like 20-something thousand pairs of underwear.
Wow.
And we really didn't know how to make it.
Uh-huh.
And we just knew how we wanted to make it and what we wanted it to be like.
Oh.
And between that moment and the moment when we actually shipped were astronomical hurdles. I mean, the factory, I had given them a down payment, and the bank was ready to chain their doors, and looking at the suppliers for the component parts didn't have the stuff anymore. They would need to make it custom, all this kind of stuff. And on day one, any one of those hurdles would have appeared so large that I'd go, well, that's why people don't do this, and that's why I should do this.
I see.
But, once there's a promise there,
yes,
once there's some momentum behind it, I think, you have the gumption, maybe. If everybody knew everything that it took to get something done in advance, nobody would do anything.
Absolutely. Everything's a pain in the ass to do. And that's why you got to have the motivation. And that's why what you're saying is that having 5,000 people relying on you that you promise something, I mean, that is a heavy burden, isn't it?
Yeah, but in a good way.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Because it's like having a war. I mean, we do things in extreme forms, when we're really threatened or something, or have a bigger goal in mind. So you have a bigger goal. But I see now that what Kickstarter has done for you is really tested your product. I mean, it's a product tester, not a fundraiser. Because if these 5,000 people didn't buy your underwear, or the 20,000 whatever, the 5,000 this, then you would have known, hey, this is a bad idea, right?
That's true. That is very, very true. And actually, that is something that I had also experimented with even before this. So I had some other business ideas, and I would build a web page for them.
Yes.
I would try to promote the web page, and when nobody cared, I'd go, well,
I was telling you earlier how I would put an ad in a paper for a book I didn't do just to see if somebody did it.
Yeah.
And that was pre-web page. But I could see that that's why these crowdfunding things are great marketing research. I mean,
sure.
If people are going to buy it, then why raise money to do anything? So if you raise money right from customers who are going to buy it, man, that's a twofer, isn't it?
Yeah. It's really it's great. I mean, it's so far so now we've done 2 Kickstarters, and separate of that, we've got 6 months as a website selling stuff and talking to people about it. And as far as customer acquisition, just as a premise is concerned, it's harder to acquire customers through our own website because I think people are less likely to share something. When you buy something through Amazon, the first thing that you do isn't tell a friend what you bought.
Right.
I really think you should look at this toaster. Gets here. But there's something about being able to tell your story in the way that you do on Kickstarter, where you say, here's what we're trying to do, here's why we're trying to do it, that really does encourage people then to tell a friend. And
I see. That's interesting. So if I bought I mean, you're right. I mean, a cool idea. I mean, I right away told my son, because he's a hoodie wearer, I said, I gotta get one of these suckers, and because it's unique or because it's a story behind it? Is that what
I think it's just because it's a story. And, everything has a story. Even that toaster on Amazon.
Exactly,
somebody before it got made. Somebody had a vision.
Right.
Somebody had an idea. They just don't tell it.
Yes.
And so I think moving forward, at least in our world, even on our website, we're going to tell more of those stories. And it's not the most unique idea on earth. There's the Jake Peterman catalog.
Doesn't matter. I've stolen everything, any idea I've had. I make a living out of getting stuff for free and selling it for as much as I could get. Everything in the government. But that's interesting. So it's really Kickstarter and these crowdfunding things, right? I mean, I see, because if people raise money to start a business, then they have to go out and find a customer, which is really determines the success or failure of your business. Not some idiot investor who's going to invest in you. It's whether the customer is going to invest in you. So you're doing that right up front and solves that whole problem. And then it's no investment. If nobody buys, you've solved two problems.
It is true. And I think, again, just to cheat and take us back to this pre-conversation that we had in a minute, it's just another way and another tool for jumping in, right? For just jumping in with 2 feet and just starting a thing, and whether it's Kickstarter or just like, tearing down the wall in your house before you start, like, you have to start somewhere.
Right.
And starting is the hardest part, really.
Or cleaning up the neighborhood. So that's the way I see it. I mean, anything like this, you could use a crowdfunding thing to do to see if there's enough people. Hey, this is bad shit. We got to change. And you're selling something, so this is good shit. You got to get out there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. What, no,
I don't know.
Obviously, a little doubt. Yeah.
You and I were talking briefly about like encouraging people to do stuff.
Yes.
And like, I think maybe what I was trying to say was something about getting started. So, a recent example from my own life is my wife was at a job, and she had accomplished everything that there really was for her to accomplish at that job.
It was curing cancer, or what?
Yeah, totally cured it. Just all kinds, just across. No, she runs events for large organizations, and she had accomplished all of that, and she was starting to get, just bored. She was looking for another challenge, and was driving herself crazy trying to think of what it should be, right? Like, well, God, what motivates me? What do I want to do? And then one day she woke up and realized that she just knew that she wasn't motivated here anymore. And so she pulled the plug on that, right? She said, you know what? I'm going to leave.
Like a bad date.
And taking that step just starts it moving. It like adds urgency. You've now committed to the journey.
See? And I figured that out 30 years ago. Say, we all have to figure that out, people do stuff, because you can't. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. But
no, that was it.
Yeah. And it's like a bad marriage. You're not going to leave until you find somebody better, or you can't find a better job, so you're going to stay in this mediocre job. You're never going to find that better job.
Right. You just got to do it. You just got to.
You cut the cord. That motivates you. I used to do that even with books I had. I had a book called Free Stuff for Seniors, did very well, and I'm trying to sell it. Oh God, we got to stop doing this. We burned them all and just started. So we don't have it. We can't sell it. We get on something new.
Interesting. Back to your books, and I had been a buyer of your books, and we were speculating where those people are now, and what choices they made after that, because in some way, in some day, they all said, by buying that book, they all said something. They all said something as a group. I'll bet Free Stuff for Seniors had more action behind it. Like for book buyer, I'll bet there was more free stuff applied for than any of the rest of them.
Yeah, no, it did very well, and that's why you start beating that dead horse, and then you say, well, I get bored, and I'm just not interested anymore. So unless I burn the suckers to get on with something new that excites me. Otherwise, it's comfortable, and the problem is I see loved ones and people around you are a hazard in that decision making, because they don't want you to fail. Anything new looks failable, and anything current looks, hey, we're gonna make money. Don't rock the boat. This is okay. So that's why I feel your loved ones sometimes are your worst enemy, because they don't want you to fail, and they protect you. Yeah.
I like that as a premise.
What's that?
Your loved ones are your worst enemies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't you feel? I mean, and then, see, the way I think of that, this is supposed to be I'm going to review you. But I think of it like my kid, when I had a kid. Do you have any kids yet?
Nope.
Well, I didn't have a kid until I was 40, Watching that kid walk, and he crawls on the rug, and then pulls himself up and takes a step and falls on his ass, and he does that 100 times before he walks. So then we expect we're going to start a business. We're just going to walk and make a touchdown. Anything you do new is like that kid walking for the first time. You got to fall on your butt 100 times. And if I stopped him, because don't do that, you hurt yourself. I'd be pushing him on a wheelchair. He wouldn't know how to walk, right?
That's a great analogy. I like it a lot.
Yeah, but I see that's all we do. And so that's why loved ones, hey, you're going to quit your job and do this. Don't do that. because it's going to fail. Yes, I am going to fail. So just say yes. The way out of any problem, anybody says anything bad, that's right. Lesko. It's hard to get a grant. Yes. Just say yes. Aren't you acting like a stupid fool? Yes. and the issue goes away. So you have, I mean, the marketing thing. I mean, that's what I mean. To me, after I had 2 businesses that failed, I said, man, you don't have a business until you have a customer. And everybody starting businesses, doing all this other stuff beforehand, getting accountants and lawyers, all this crap. Yeah. So you found a way to get a customer first, have them give you the money, and then you get all that crap and figure it out. And it's the beauty of crowdfunding, man. It's just wonderful. I see you also contributed to 19 projects on Kickstarter.
I did, yeah. I mean, a lot of people ask me for advice, and I'm happy to give it. My only requirement to the people that I give it to is that they then give that same advice or other advice to anybody who asks them. But I often end up then kind of smitten with some of those projects that reached out to me about. And, yeah, it's fun. It's fun supporting others.
What did your wife wind up doing?
Well, she's still in events, and she's figuring out the next steps. So that last phase that I talked about was all of, I think, 5 work days ago.
Oh, I see. Whoops. I let the cat on the bag.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you're a wonderful treat, Jake, and that's true. I mean, it was fun talking to you beforehand, and that's what, tell you the truth, when talking philosophically like we did on the air too, I see we did that, is that what I love about it too is that hearing what I believe. Sometimes it's hard to do what you believe because of your surrounding environment and everything. So when you philosophize with somebody about those issues, I want to hear, not what I'm doing. I know I don't do that all the time, but I want to know what I believe so I can try to do that better.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's so neat about giving advice, as you say earlier about advising people, saying as you advise somebody else. What I get from giving advice is hearing what I really believe.
Yeah.
Not what I do, because I don't have the balls to do that all the time.
That's very true, actually. I've never thought of it that way, but I wholeheartedly agree. I do that, and then I also often I'll give like a presentation about my life.
Right.
People say like, "Hey, can you talk here?"
Yeah.
Just tell people about how you do what you do, or how.
Yeah.
And I give them this presentation, and it connects all of the dots very neatly, right? And I did this, and then that led to this, and it all seems so clear in reverse. And at the end, I have to go, but none of that was connected. Like,
it sounds logical, right? But you're just fighting fires every goddamn day and hoping you get through the day. Yeah, we do look smart from afar, don't we? Well, you're a treasure, Jake. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Oh, and I know the website. I want to give the website. Make sure people know. So it's paid on the air too. It's flintandtinderusa.com. FLINTANDTINDER USA.com. And then you can write all about Jake and get all the stuff and give him more money. And if you call now,